Welcome to Coffee with the Risk Manager, where we share a cup of coffee with colleagues and discuss all things risk management in higher education. My name's Stacie Kroll, Managing Director of Gallagher's Higher Education Practice, and with us today, live from Indianapolis ERMIA National Conference, is Phil Dendy, a personal mentor of mine, and the topic we're talking about today is risk leadership and advocating for your program. So Phil, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, first of all, Stacie, thank you so much for the invitation to be here today and be with you. I have actually been with the University of Texas System since 1995, so 22 years. Wow. I've been with the UT system. Started out as managing the self-insured workers' compensation program, and over time, with a lot of great people and surrounding me with great leadership, we have been able to advance these programs at the UT system to where we are today.
So tell me what that looks like. What's your program look like today versus what you were just explaining?
Well, when I first started with the UT system, we have a self-insured workers' compensation program, and I was hired as the manager of that program. It also included a safety component, and we had always argued that we needed a more comprehensive risk management function. With some retirement and restructuring, I ended up becoming the Director of Business Administrative Services, pulling in workers' compensation and safety, but that also included a lot of other things at system administration, like accounting and purchasing and facilities and airplane operations, those types of things, which was outside of my wheelhouse, quite frankly, but it ended up being a tremendous experience and helped develop some background and foundation for the other things that we would ultimately do. After a few years, a new chancellor, more restructuring, we separated and actually became the Office of Risk Management, which became more of a risk management function. In 2015, with retirement of our Chief Compliance Officer, I was appointed as the interim Chief Compliance Officer, and after some studies and an outside consultant, we developed the structure that we have basically now, where I oversee, as the Chief Compliance and Risk Officer, the Office of Risk Management, the Office of System-Wide Compliance, and the Office of Information Security. And that model has proven to be very successful in managing these very significant enterprise-wide risk.
So I've been hearing a lot from our clients, our risk managers in the field. This is certainly a movement, particularly post-COVID. We're looking at kind of growing our programs, showing our value. What's some of the benefits you've seen in that growth of bringing in compliance and information security? What's the benefit of having that all under one umbrella?
Well, the conversations that we have cross lines, cross disciplines is happening now at a level that it was not happening before. When we have all these people in a room talking with each other, not just at the system level, but we have the opportunity now to have these conversations at the institutional level in a way that really didn't happen before. The UT system is a big machine. We've got 13 institutions. We've got a healthcare enterprise, the academic enterprise, the research enterprise. So there's a lot going on, and having the ability to have conversations with the people that are intimately involved in these very high-level risk is critical. And I think we've been able to foster those conversations along with the structure that we have now.
Yeah. Did you see any benefit to applying kind of how you approach risk management, right? You have a very specific way of approaching risk management. Did you see any benefit of kind of applying that management style to compliance and information security? Does that seem cohesive? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Great question. And yes, throughout the course of the evolution of the Office of Risk Management, we have been very successful in a system-wide committee structure that has all the benefits of the knowledge base at all the institutions in the UT system talking to each other. It really evolved more on the environmental health and safety side, with an environmental health and safety advisory committee, representatives of all the institutions, with subcommittees for biological safety, radiation safety, fire and life safety, those types of things. When we brought in the Office of System-Wide Compliance under that structure. We did something similar. So we've got an Institutional Compliance Advisory Committee. And under that, we've got these other subcommittees that involve privacy, Title IX. Our healthcare enterprise is huge. So we've got a medical billing compliance group, research compliance, those types of things. And the benefit of the system is now we've got a specific structure where all of these compliance and research and Title IX professionals are talking to each other on a regular basis. And I think just those conversations have really done a lot to advance the cause and create a more cohesive and stronger structure.
Yeah, that's great. So it makes me think a lot of risk managers have shown their value through a really long-term crisis, right? Institutions have realized the great benefit that risk managers bring to the table. How did you get this done? Like, for someone who's interested in growing their program and bringing things under their umbrella, how did you kind of convince stakeholders that this was a model that they should be interested in?
Well, I think it really goes back to the beginning as well. I mean, one of the things that we did many, many years ago was have a business meeting with, the stakeholders at the institution. That really was just a business meeting with people that didn't necessarily talk to each other at the institution. We found that in some cases, the two people at the institutions didn't even know each other until they came to this meeting. So. Which was a problem. So what started out as a business meeting evolved into a conference where we had a lot of very timely topics and speakers, and had the ability for networking, not just internal to the institutions, but throughout the entire UT system. So what started out as a business meeting 20 some odd years ago has evolved into a full-blown, all-out, very comprehensive higher education risk management conference. The conference that we had in San Antonio this last April, we had over 550 attendees from all of our institutions, but a total of over 60 institutions across the entire United States. So it was, that's the evolution of that. And I just think the relationships that we have built over the course of time have given us the benefit of bringing people in, knowing that they're going to have value, not just in being at that, but the value is in the relationships.
Yeah, so it sounds like you front-loaded that value through that conference. Kind of people knew that they were going to get something out of this right off the bat. Right. It also sounds like your leaders are super supportive of you and what you're accomplishing at UT.
Right, and let me just go back to the conference for just a few minutes. We've been in this current structure that we've had for, 5-6 years, about. Didn't know there was going to be math today. So. But, we had to cancel 2020. That would have been actually the first conference that we would have had where we had not just all the people that have traditionally been on the risk management side, but that's when we also would have brought in compliance and information security, where now a lot more people are in the same, conference having those type of conversations. So it didn't happen in 2020, obviously, because of COVID. But in 2022, it did. With regard to your question about the leadership, two things. I have been very blessed, and if I've done anything right over the course of time, it is that I have surrounded myself with exceptional people that I work with. They don't work for me, they work with me, and they have been phenomenal. And I'm blessed that we've got a lot of longevity there too. So for the staff that I have at the UT system office, there's also a lot of longevity both with our office and at the institutions. And over the course of time, we've delivered the services that we're there to deliver. And we've gained the confidence and the trust of our stakeholders at the institutions. And in the course of that, when you do that, you naturally will gain the trust of leadership, which is the other part that I've been blessed with. From the very beginning, when I was hired as the manager of workers' compensation, leadership at the UT system has been deeply engaged and supportive of what we've been accomplishing. And that has been the case all the way through the 5 or 6 chancellors that I've worked for, as well as the various iterations of executive officers in the Board of Regents.
How do you maintain that trust? So often our leadership doesn't even know what we do at the end of the day, right? They don't know what insurance is. How do you keep that trust? How do you show them that how much you're accomplishing? Like, what strategies have you deployed in a practical sense?
Well, again, I mean, there's regular conversations with our executive officers. We have a risk management executive committee that is, it is the executives of the executive vice chancellor of business affairs, health affairs, academic affairs, general counsel. Okay. And so they are regularly updated on the activities that we're engaged in. It also goes back to the evolution of how we tell our story. We have a regent rule that requires that we give a status of the workers' compensation and unemployment fund once a year. So we've already got a rule that says I need to tell the Board of Regents something. Okay. We took that, what could be a one-page financial statement, and we've evolved that over time to really talk about what the Office of Risk Management does, what the institutions do, and it's backed up with the financials, obviously, but also with metrics about hazardous waste activities and emergency management activities and the insurance funds and all the accomplishments in all of the programs. And fortunately, we've been successful in all of those programs when we've had significant events like Hurricane Ike and Hurricane Harvey and most recently the winter storm and other things. So we've got some very high-profile activities that get the attention of leadership. And when we tell that story in an effective manner, it gets and maintains their attention.
That's great. It sounds like you already had a captive audience in your Board of Regents. You had an established communication path, and then you just took advantage of that and said, let me insert everything I want you to know through that path. Is that a good summary of?
That's exactly right. I mean, we had a vehicle, we had a venue, we had a audience, and we took advantage of that. And it's way more than what's required, but it tells the story.
That's great. So I think a lot of people within higher education certainly look to you because you've been a leader in this industry for some time. What practical advice would you give risk managers who are trying to establish themselves? They want this type of program, right? So what kind of key takeaways would you give them of kind of how to position themselves as a leader?
Well, I think there's 3 or 4 important areas. First, you have to develop the relationships with your stakeholders. And one of the things that I've always told my staff, and they probably get tired of me saying it, is that system administration in the University of Texas exists really, in my mind, for one purpose and one person only. And that is to support the mission of the institutions in the academic, healthcare, and research enterprises. Yep. If we're not doing that, then we're not doing our job effectively. Yep. So that is kind of the theme that goes through everything that we do. So first, you've got to understand your role. You have to develop the relationships that you have with your stakeholders. You have to deliver a solid product. You have to maintain and follow through, and then you have to continue to maintain that trust, and you have to tell your story. If you don't tell your story, then nobody else will.
I love that. So Phil, thank you for being on Coffee with the Risk Manager. Like I said, this is a special episode because I've learned so much from you throughout my career, and you've personally taught me a lot about risk leadership. So thank you.
Excellent.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.